All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for The Dan Bongino Show.
Folks, it becomes more obvious by the day that the clear goal of the left-wing media, liberal politician scum symbiote is to hang a black cloud over Trump with everything that comes out on Epstein and everything else. You saw it yesterday. I'm going to play for you one of the most, and after all we've been through over the last 10 plus years with the scum in the media, to say one of the most disgusting pieces of agitprop bullshit I've ever seen coming from a left-winger, that's saying a lot. What Ted Lieu just did, this just piece of human waste, is, I mean, even beyond the pale for a group of people in D.C. who the standards couldn't be lower for. Of course, we got the other breaking news. Prince Andrew arrested. We got a massive buildup outside of Iran. Trump speaking at the Board of Peace today. It's an incredibly busy news day. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right to it. Today's show brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. Get 10% off ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, and one of my favorites, NAD+, at allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. Use code Bongino10. Consult a medical professional before taking any medications. I really like All Family Pharmacy. The NAD, I'm all into the biohacking and anti-aging. I'm getting old. I'm 51. I feel every ounce of it, but you got to stay ahead of that. All right. Hey, the last year has opened my eyes to a lot of things, but there's one I found particularly disturbing. There's a lot of infighting going on. We all agree on these things, right? Freedom of speech, the right to life. 2A, the Second Amendment, supporting our military and first responders. We got to stay focused on these things. We got elections coming up. We got a movement to preserve. There's one company that's been fighting for our rights, and they've supported this program from the very beginning, and that's Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile. Unlike other mobile phone providers, Patriot Mobile works on 3 major networks, all 3 major networks. In fact, you can be on multiple networks on the same phone. Most importantly, their customers enjoy priority service with the same or better quality as their old providers. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes switching fast and easy. Guy loves the customer service. His buddy Milton over there. Keep your number, keep your phone, or it's a true story. Keep your phone or upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan and get a free month of service with the offer code Dan. This company's been fighting for things we all believe in for over a decade. Let's thank them by making this switch today. patriotmobile.com/Dan. That's patriotmobile.com/Dan. And another thing I got to add in is the teaser for the rest of the show. Watching the media people, by the way, I know I own you guys and your outlets. I get it. I understand how you hang on every word and the face clawing and the screeching that you just can't make it go away. That the show keeps coming back every day with hundreds of thousands of audio views and millions of video views. I know it drives you nuts that it's one of the top live streams in the world. I get it, the seethe. I can feel it, the diapers loading up right now, the crying, the screeching. I understand, guys. I understand. But the meltdown yesterday over my interview with Kash, it's got to be one of the greatest double-barrel middle finger moments I've ever had. I just love the fact that you bullshitted people for a year about what we did to produce the safest America since 1900 on the numbers. The Trump administration did that, and you just can't handle it. And we had to correct you, and you couldn't take it. The meltdown yesterday was just gorgeous to watch. I had to put out a tweet about it. And they hang on my every word, every single word. Hanging. You're there right now. I see you through the camera. I'll get to that too. First, Wall Street Journal. Massive buildup of arms overseas. You do double bells today? Yeah, it's all right, Guy. No problem. You're fired. Just kidding. U.S. gathers the most air power in the Middle East since the 2003 Iraq invasion. Listen, folks, this is obviously a deadly serious story. I think President Trump and the negotiating team with the Iranians have had enough of their bullshit. There is zero reason to gather this kind of armada, air power, water-based power, naval power overseas in the region and not use it. I've been out for a couple of months. I'm not telling you anything on the inside baseball front. I think it's fairly obvious. However, it's also fairly obvious that the Death to America crowd doesn't like us. Is there going to be an attack? We'll all wait and see and find out together. But this is definitely some gunboat diplomacy, and the president's clearly pissed off at this point that the Iranians, even after the devastating attack on their nuclear facility, cannot seem to get their shit together. And you had one of their PR officials the other day, these Iranian flacks out in the street talking about basically President Trump can't do anything. He said, the Iranians, it's all crap. You guys are full of. I'm not sure that's helping. When you're like a Brock Lesnar type, Brock Lesnar, the WWE UFC guy, was a wrestler in college. The guy's just a man beast. I use this guy all the time because he's probably like one of the most frightening human beings on the planet. If you saw this guy in a dark alley and he had bad intentions, 99.999% of men are totally screwed. The guy would kill you in a second with his bare hands, right? You don't go up and poke the bear. You don't walk down the alley. You just let him walk by. Sometimes you're just going to lose. And the better part of valor is sometimes to just walk away. You don't go up to go, hey, Brock, let me test this out. There's no testing out. You're going to get your ass kicked and probably get your neck broken too. The Iranians, you never negotiate like this on the violence end, when violence will be the end game, when you don't have the ability to follow through. It's clear as day they don't have the ability to withstand the U.S. assault. We broke down their air defenses in seconds. And listen, I know there's a lot of disagreement within the Republican tent. That you don't need me to tell you that's okay. You're all free people. You can think for your own. I'm telling you, from my perspective, that's a good thing. It's good that Republicans from the libertarian, conservative, MAGA wing, there's a lot of overlap amongst those three wings. Some there isn't. Foreign affairs is one of those areas where there's pretty much three distinct wings here, maybe more. There's a lot of disagreement on what should happen in Iran. You are entitled to your own opinion. But President Trump, ultimately in the end, is the CIC commander-in-chief, and he's going to make that call. I'm just telling you that this is really expensive to do this, really expensive to engage in this military buildup like this. There's very little chance they're doing that without some intent to use gunboat diplomacy for something, some endgame. What that endgame is, we're all going to find out. And listen, keep the disagreement going. That's okay. We're not Democrats. We're not liberals that all parrot the same bullshit message all the time. We're allowed to talk to each other and try to engage in the persuasion game. But the CIC is going to make the call. So you saw yesterday also with the Epstein release, Prince Andrew was arrested, woke up this morning, had to redo the beginning of the show. Ironically, the beginning of the show today was going to be this Europe, EU trend towards censorship with the Macron thing. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in a minute. One of the most ridiculous public statements I've ever seen from an official out of Macron in France. We had to move that around. So it's interesting that he was arrested last night. And from what we're getting from the early, Prince Andrew, of course, and what we're getting from the early reporting is that he was actually arrested at a location and not allowed to kind of turn himself in. So I'm wondering if there's something new they found in the releases that under their law constitutes a crime, because the charge here is misconduct in office. So that we're going to find out as the process evolves. And as the process evolves through their system, their judicial system, now we'll have people under oath talking about what really happened. So it's interesting how it went down. Because typically with someone like that, you would be negotiating with a lawyer in advance and they would turn themselves in. That's not what happened. I want to caution you on one thing, though, here. And by the way, a lot of this information was already out there with regards to Prince Andrew. A lot of it was already out there. So again, I'm wondering if under their laws, So obviously we live in the United States. We're not subject to UK laws. If they found something in there, and what was the urgency to do it then, last night, in the way they did it? We'll be covering this over the course of the coming days. But I want to caution you on something. I want to play this Ted Lieu clip in a second, so cue that up. They are clearly using every single opportunity with the Epstein release. Clearly. Using every opportunity. Every comma, semicolon, whatever's in there to try to hover a black cloud over President Trump. Folks, the transparency component and the Trump component are two separate arguments. President Trump, every single release they are going to try to nail President Trump because this is a logical kind of end game for them, from Russian collusion to the Ukraine impeachment hoax. It doesn't matter if any of it's true. I just want you to be clear on this, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, communist, whatever your political affiliation listening to the show, there is one side of the aisle that is exclusively full of shit. I'm not telling you again, Republicans are the answer to all your problems. I'm not. I am not. You got it? Get it? Got it? Good. I'm telling you the cause of all your problems and the lack of trust in institutions and the loss of faith in any kind of truth or lodestar when it comes to media, politics, or anything is the Democrats. They lie about everything all the time. Everything. Nothing they tell you about a policy issue, Epstein, healthcare, taxes, the border, nothing is true. What I saw yesterday in this clip is one of the most grotesque, disgusting abominations I've ever seen from a filth bag of a human being. A disgusting piece of filth. Ted Lieu, L-I-E-U. Here's Ted Lieu on the Epstein files and President Trump. Again, if you've got even kids around, this is just disgusting. Check this out.
Why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
Folks, there's no doubt getting these things out there, zero doubt. We've now discussed this 4 or 5 times. That's why I get a kick out of, again, the media people. You hang on every word. I know you're there. We've now discussed this often. It was a long and messy process, but now they're out there, and now you can see for yourself what's out there. Does any sane person actually believe what this asshole just said? Now, why are they doing that? Well, because they lie, it's fairly obvious, and they hate Donald Trump. I get that. I get that. But why tactically now have they latched on to the Epstein files release to try to tarnish Donald Trump with every single comma and colon in those files? Gee, throw up that poll. Because nothing they do with this guy sticks with the president. At P polling numbers, political polls verified account over on X Twitter. New Trump approval poll. New, which is, by the way, it's February 19th, so it's not taken from like 3 weeks ago. Approval, 50%. Disapprove, 46%. According to this poll, he's at 50% approval. Folks, nothing sticks. So do you remember when I was doing the show years ago with Trump 45, the first term? Do you remember, folks in the chat, let me, why, yes, no, if you don't, or just, if you don't remember, don't respond, whatever. Do you remember the show your ass theory with Donald Trump? This is what's behind this. You remember what it was? Democrats know, especially lunatics like Ted Lieu, who were in districts where they have zero chance of losing an election. They're like Democrat plus 40. They know that Trump hysteria to the point of like, he's a fascist. No, he's an ultra-fascist. He's a Nazi. He's a killer. He rapes kids. He eats kids. He's killed kids.
No, he's never been called a racist.
No, that's right. It's a good point, Guy. Next segment. He's apparently never been called a racist. Ed O'Keefe's like, I don't know. I don't remember that. The Trump show your ass there. I see some of you in the chat remember. I see a lot of Y's in there. This is where this comes from. Ted Lieu understands that he's got to get on TV, ratchet up his game. He actually likes us talking about him like this because in his district, people hate Dan Bongino too. So like, if Dan Bongino doesn't like Ted Lieu, enemy of my enemy is my friend. So this actually works for him in a bit of a Streisand effect thing, which we will discuss too today in the show. So they have to ratchet up and show their asses more and more. Here's a little of this. Here's a little crack. Here's a little of this. Here's my whole ass. They got to keep, they don't care how silly they look to normal Americans who are laughing at them. Nobody believes Donald Trump was eating kids. He doesn't give a shit. If he doesn't ratchet up and show his whole ass to everyone on the Democrat side, he's going to look like a softie to an increasingly radicalized AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mamdani base that loves this stuff, folks. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, man, I'm not messing with this. Topic's going to come up a lot today. I've said to you often, government scares me a lot. A lot. I mean, it keeps me up at night. Like I said, I sleep just fine. But if there was going to be something that keeps me up at night, it's freaking government. Because people are government. It's not robots. People are policy in government. I saw that shocked me to my core tweet was about what they did with Crossfire, and you're seeing some releases coming out about that now, too, in South Florida. I'll get into that another time when it starts to come together. So I don't want to engage in like any TikTok stuff or any of that. We'll see when it happens. But you're already seeing now that come together. What people can do when they have the power of government in their hands, people like Ted Lieu, is freaking scary. Their clear goal is to use this process to tarnish President Trump. Folks, nothing they've done is stuck. That's why the show your ass theory is in effect. Let's try to get him on inflation. Show some more of your ass. Say something crazy. He's definitely a racist. Let's get him on the border. Border's at 0 illegal migrants permitted. Show a little more of your ass. That didn't work. Let's get him on the economy faltering. Fed predicts 5% GDP growth. Atlanta Fed next year. That didn't work. Here's my whole ass. Well, that's not working either. What do we do now? Epstein files. He ate kids. Raped and ate kids. This shit works for them. They're appealing to a bunch of lunatics. This is why these people in charge scares the shit out of me. Folks, these people are freaking nuts. They will lie, cheat, steal, do anything. And when they have the power of handcuffs and bracelets in their hands, I'm telling you, they will do anything. The writing's on the wall here. You saw this approval rating. Nothing they're doing is sticking. You're going to see next. You think this isn't going to get worse? Next, it's going to be like, not only did he eat kids, he cooked them in a stew and tortured them for weeks at a time before he ate them. The people love this shit on the left. That's why you have this mass outbreak of leftist violence, trans violence. They stir people up. Look at what these MAGA people are doing, eating kids. Good for transparency. But this is going to serve as a lot of fodder for liberal media scumbags and lunatics like Ted Lieu to just constantly show you their entire. Next thing you know, it's going to be, they'll show you the front too. That's next. They're the real lunatics. Folks, the writing is on the wall with these people. We are in a really, really dangerous place. Again, I don't want this to ever be the panic show. I woke up this morning, the sunrise was absolutely beautiful. Sun was out in Florida. You get these orange colors, a little bit of pink in there, some light blues, some deep blues. You still see a little bit of moon overhead. The world's a beautiful place. You got kids, you got soccer games with the kids, you got a great movie to get you all emotional, and you're like, this is supposed to be fake. How is that? The world's full of these beautiful moments. But listen, it's a dangerous place. And you've got scumbags like Ted Lieu out there, and this now cancerous growth on the globe, Emmanuel Macron. When these people are empowered, this is the kind of stuff, if men were angels, again, Federalist 51, they're not, you've got to keep a vigilant eye on. The price of liberty is going to be this eternal sense of vigilance. Here's what I'm talking about. This is what I was going to start the show with before this massive amount of breaking news came out this morning. The writing is on the wall. It's not that totalitarianism is decades or 2 decades or a century away. People are talking about totalitarian principles like free speech getting thrown out the window, weaponizing government. They're talking about it right now. Here's Macron. Horrifying that he actually said this publicly basically attacking the basic tenets of free speech. You're seeing this in the EU now with just a renewed focus on censorship for ideas they don't like. This can turn bad at the snap of a finger, and it already is through the Digital Services Act. Check this out.
Free speech is a pure bullshit if nobody knows how you are guided through this so-called free speech, especially when it's to be guided from one hated speech to another hated speech. I just want to have a transparent road through these different speeches, and I want, by the way, to have a sort of public order. I want to avoid racist speech, hated speech, and so on. This is my point. And the third one.
Who gets to categorize what hate speech and free speech is? Folks, you understand how dangerous this is? They're the ones who want to categorize what hate speech is. And what's hate speech going to be? Tell me in the chat. You know it. You know what's going to be categorized as hate speech. Any speech they don't like that promotes anti-communism, anti-liberalism, anti-progressivism, or whatever euphemism you want to use to call this totalitarian regimes. By the way, Guy reminded me, I'm sorry, I put together the show, the beginning of the show, the last minute. I forgot, so forgive me. I'm going to dial this back a little bit, rewind the tape, although we don't use tape anymore. Here was President Trump in a clip we just pulled this morning on Prince Andrew. What was this from, Guy? This is from a long time, 10 years ago. Check this out.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew.
Hey, what's going on in the chat? Did we lose your sound? We did? It's good now? Tell me in the chat. Okay. How long's it been out? Let me know in the chat. Sound is back. It's back? Oh, as soon as I mentioned a blanket. Okay. All right. You got to play it again because they didn't hear the sound. Sorry, guys. But leave, don't edit the whole thing later on because it takes forever to get it up on Apple. We'll just leave it as part of the show. Sometimes it happens. All right. Play that again and don't cut off the sound this time. Thank you for letting us know. The Andrew thing with Trump. They didn't hear it. There was no sound. Yeah, play it again.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it.
Okay. Trump is always right. So thank you for letting us know. Thank God for the chat. I would have just kept talking. You would have had to read lips. And I'm not particularly good at reading lips. But I did have to. Jasmine, do you see with the Guy? Come on. It's a little bit of it's not that cold in here. All right. Back to what we were talking about before. Sorry to jump around, but again, it's a huge news day. Folks, the writing's on the wall. You see even this article in the Financial Times. You're seeing people now move towards this totalitarian censorship model. And if you can't talk, any of your other rights don't matter. What does it matter if you're free to assemble or petition if you can't actually say anything when you're assembling or petitioning the government? Financial Times. Ban social media? Perhaps we should all be banned from social media. No, perhaps we shouldn't, Stephen Bush, who wrote the article. Folks, I don't know. I guess I've been, again, speaking candidly with you over the past year that you can't go through an experience like that and have it not change you, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But I told you when I put out that viral tweet, I didn't expect to go as nuclear as it did, about when I was reading these crossfire documents that were a lot of the basis of some of this activity you're seeing going on now. I couldn't believe how easily these guardrails collapsed. But I want to warn you about the fragile nature of power, folks. We have lived in a system for so long that's been relatively stable compared to other governments around the world where coups and military overthrows are a daily event sometimes, that we just take it for granted. We're in a dangerous spot now with people like Ted Lieu and others, after what happened to Trump in the fake New York trial in Georgia, the Georgia incident. This is not a brave new world. This is a cowardly new world. Here's Thomas Sowell in a brief clip here. This is decades old, but it's important. This guy's just a brilliant intellect. Talking about the fragile nature of power and why coups don't happen here, but happen all over the world, everywhere else. And basically, that's the question. Because coups or military coups all over the world are the norm, not the exception. Why haven't we been subjected to the same thing? Check this out.
Orders by him. The troops had the guns. They could have done what they wanted to do, but they chose to follow his orders. And that's why they have the kind of government they have rather than a profoundly different kind of government. I think there's a tendency, and perhaps Marxists to be blamed for some of this, to think of, quote, the objective conditions of society and so forth. And I think those objective conditions are greatly overrated. Those objective conditions are the products of subjective things. And those kinds of things don't migrate very, very well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. If you ever want a little dose of wisdom in your day, check out Thomas Sowell or Milton Friedman, Hayek, Schumpeter, any of them. Brilliant. The essence of conservatism is conserving valuable ideas that have lasted over time. And man, let me tell you, Thomas Sowell has a lot of them. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, and I want to get to this segment yesterday, the just incredible media crash out, the rage fest over my interview with FBI Director Patel. They were stunned that we actually put out data and statistics. They're supposed to be journalists, right? You'd think they'd report on that. The safest America ever produced over the last year. It's a fact. You don't got to like it, media fuckwads. We don't care. We don't care. It's true. And I know that bothers you because your messianic figures in the past, Merrick Garland, Obama, and Joe Biden, couldn't do what the Trump administration did. I know that bothers you. And the rage out, I know it's terrible. I know I should, but the rage out just puts a big smile on my face. Okay, quick break and we'll get to that. And whether it was my time working in government or getting back behind the microphone, one thing that keeps me going is a good night's sleep. Folks, I'm not kidding, man. Sleep will save you, and you got to get a good mattress. I've been sleeping on a Helix mattress for years, Helix, not only for mental clarity, but for your physical health. You got to recover, and you recover when you sleep, but when you sleep deeply, and you're not going to sleep deeply without the right temperature in the room, without the right mattress. Paul and I have had Helix mattresses for years. It says, hey, we've had many of them. This is like our third now. We love them. We're really happy with when we made the change early on. Had one up in D.C. as well. Helix matches you with the perfect mattress based on your personal preference and sleep needs, which makes buying a mattress super easy and tailored to you. You can have confidence with your match with seamless returns and exchanges. The Happy with Helix guarantee offers you a risk-free, customer-first experience designed to ensure you are completely satisfied with your new Helix mattress. My guys here in the studio have Helix mattresses too. They're hooked, getting the best night's sleep of their lives. I love mine. Wouldn't sleep on anything else. Go to helixsleep.com/Dan. That's HELIX, helixsleep.com/Dan for 27% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/Dan and get 27% off site-wide. And make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. Helix, HELIX, helixsleep.com/Dan. Get yourself a good night's sleep. Get a Helix mattress. And by the way, thank you to Jasmine, who was in here in a second when the sound went down. She was like the relief pitcher, like Mariana. Enter Sandman came on, the relief pitcher. I saw her running in here with a computer in hand. She was ready to go. With all the stuff going on, I got to tell you, Jasmine, I didn't even know you watched the show live. But I'm impressed. All right. So, folks, it's clear right now, based on the liberal media coverage of everything going on with the Trump administration and their efforts to tear this thing apart, that they just want to burn it all down. If you think for a second that they have any allegiance to the truth or principles, you're insane. You're out of your mind. They don't. I saw it from the other side where you would read stories, and that was the I loved the job in the past year. It was an amazing experience. My wife asked me last night, any regrets being off the air for a year? We were talking, we were watching some show about the Dallas Cowboys. And I said, no, none at all. I mean, I learned so much from it. But I'm going to tell you, one of the difficult parts of it was when you're working in the administration, it's not about you, it's about the administration. So you can't respond to every little thing. Well, not only that, if you did, you get like the Streisand effect and you wind up just bringing attention to losers who haven't earned your attention. So you got to be careful about what you respond to. But watching them write these just obscenely ridiculous stories, you sit back and read them and you were there in the room And you'll be, there was one story about this thing that happened that was at the White House. And you read the story and you're like, I was there. That's not what happened at all. Like, well, an anonymous source said, there's no way the anonymous source was there too, because I know everyone in the room and they were at the source. So somebody made that shit up. This happens all the time. So they want a narrative out there and they get really pissed off when the narrative doesn't stick. And this Trump approval rating thing at 50% in this latest poll is driving them freaking bananas. Nothing you're doing is working. This was possibly the dumbest media moment. And I was going to put this later in the show. I was going to set up the next segment about their meltdown yesterday over my interview because they just can't defeat the stats. Here's Ed O'Keefe. I don't know Ed very well. Again, none of this is personal, but this is just so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe he said this publicly in a Caroline Leavitt press briefing yesterday. He asked Caroline a question because Donald Trump had said in a tweet that, people call him racist and it's bullshit and stuff. Ed O'Keefe's like, well, I can't really recall a time that's happened. What? That was an actual question in case you missed this yesterday. Talk about media blind. Like, is this guy on mushrooms? Check this out.
Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right?
No. That was an actual question. When and where is are you shitting me? So a great follow, by the way, debunking this media bullshit is a Rapid Response 47. Quote on Twitter, at Rapid Response 47. Ed, you literally did the thing you asked. Here's an Ed O'Keefe tweet. Watch. President Trump receives backlash and support over his racist tweets. Why would you try? I don't understand why you would try. This is why they rage out at this show. Because all we do is present to them their own words and they claw at their faces. They piss their diapers because it's them. See, when Ed O'Keefe, I don't know, I can't remember any time Trump was called a racist. You did it. And then when I go on the air and say things like, hey, we produced the safest America, here are the data. Oh, man, damn Bongino. Because they can't argue with it. What we say is real. What they say is bullshit. The guys put together a little mini supercut, by the way. Here's a little reminder for Ed O'Keefe of this could go on for, I don't even know how long I'm going to play. This could go on for hours, but thank you guys. Here's a little cut of the media people, a little tutorial for Ed calling Donald Trump racist. Check this out.
Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right?
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
He's always been a racist, a bigot, a xenophobic.
Like, this administration is racist. That he has always been a racist.
And this rogue Department of Justice going out to do the bidding of this Timu Hitler. I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin or to become an Adolf Hitler or a Kim Jong-un. That's what he wants to be.
Donald Trump is also very old and a racist and a neo-Nazi. But anyways.
There you go, Ed. You may want to bookmark that part of the show. We are now 36 minutes and 10 seconds in. I don't believe there's any delay. By the way, Guy, Andrea just texted me, Anita. She loves your outfit. She thinks it's awesome. It's going to be a classic. Guy will forever be remembered for that poncho. We'll call it a poncho just to save him. There you go, Ed. Bookmark the show. Folks, you can't trust anything these people say. Why do I keep bringing it up? Because they present themselves as a paragon of truth. And it's very important to think of politics in a business model, okay? Politics is a production of inputs, right? That produces an output. Same thing as producing widgets. If you're producing some plastic widget toy, what do you need? You need the plastic, you need the molds, you need the people, you need the labor, you need the time. You mix, and the capital. You mix all that together, you get in those inputs, you get an output, a widget you hope to sell for a price. Correct? Business model. Charlie Brown Encyclopedia 101 Economics, you all get that, nothing new there. However, you have to look at politics the same way. If you're going to have a group of constituents, an electorate, or a citizenry, all three at the same time, unfortunately not always the same thing, given the propensity of cheating. However, you get the point. If you're going to have them produce an informed output and vote for people who are going to better their lives, you have to give them informed inputs. That's where the country is broken down. The media is totally broken. Almost every single thing, it's issue of substance, they will lie to you about the inputs. Why is the economy doing well? 4%, 5% predicted growth we haven't seen in years. Obama never even produced 3% growth in 8 years. Why? Donald Trump's not even done with his 8-year term. He's already hit that target in 45, by the way. They will lie to you. The input was Trump pro-growth policies. They will lie to you. Oh, it's chance. It was the good weather. It was. You get how when you see those faulty inputs, you produce a faulty output that Donald Trump doesn't do it? That is why shows like this and others, we're not the only show out there by far. You've got a ton of options out there. I'm deeply grateful you're here. I never take my audience for granted, but there are tons of options. That is how you produce an informed electorate. You will never get it with this scum in the media, ever. Media proves my point. Here they are totally raging out and melting down over my interview with the FBI Director Kash Patel, who I obviously worked for as the deputy. Media, this Charlie Nash, who, Charlie, do you do anything else but think about me all day? Do you have dreams during the day about me, Charlie? It's a little weird. Should I worry about this? I mean, we have a security team. We got to bump our security for Charlie. He's oddly like Owen Boiling Bunny on us here. Every day is like a new Dan Bongino piece with Charlie Nash. I get it. Like, keep this up a second. The greatest superpower in the world is to command attention. And I understand I own yours. But here's this coverage of it. By the way, covers none of the actual statistics we put out, which are kind of important about the national security of the country. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel spend 20 minutes patting each other on the back at work at the FBI. You and I did a pretty good job, Charlie Nash. So here's the media game plan with Charlie and these other, full diapers in the media. Mediaite's got a bizarre obsession with me, by the way. A little like weird. Lie about what happened. And it's not just about our work at the FBI. The safest America in modern American history. There's a fact. You can argue with it all you want. You can look like an asshole. Lie about the inputs. It was good weather. Criminals took trips to Mars and never came back. Joe Biden did it. Donald Trump stole it. Then you get a faulty output that none of the Trump administration officials or policies had anything to do with it. Of course, black pillars run with that because they hate President Trump. Don't want to admit it. There's a total agenda there. And then when you go on the air and put out the actual numbers and discuss what happened, the reallocation of assets, the broken window style policing, and we try to get you proper inputs, what do? They call it, you're patting each other on the back, despite actually highlighting the actual numbers they try to refute. You get the game plan? And then they hang on your every single word. They're like obsessed with everything we do here. You guys got to get your story right. The BDS folks, the Bongino derangement syndrome folks, you got to get your story right. We've been on the air now. We're closing in the end. It's Thursday, right? I'm not crazy, Jasmine. It's Thursday today? Okay, thank you. This is the end of 3 weeks. So you got a good sample size of shows. Do you guys notice this? Every day, the liberal media folks, Justin, you see her on Twitter all the time. They're like, man, no one's going to show up for the show. It's all good. Every day, we produce hundreds of thousands of views, one of the top live streams in the world, hundreds of thousands of audio listens on Apple and Spotify, and we're not even a video product, a full video product anywhere else. We're exclusive to Rumble. We don't even multi-stream. Every single day, you come out with the same story, and you get your balls kicked in. No, yeah, that's mine too, Justin. Nobody's going to watch. What is that? Who's it? We got 72,000 people watching the show right now. 72,000. You guys are just angry that we have a bigger microphone than you, and we have numbers to back up our stuff and our claims about the safest U.S. in modern American history. And you've got nothing. Trump, I don't think Trump has ever called a racist. No, actually, you implied that in your tweet, Ed. Here was another one from yesterday. This one takes the cake. This is the Daily Yeast, which is a little bit worse than Mediaite. And there's always a Streisand effect here. But this lady, Annabella Rasciglione or something, Annabella, who, looks about as dumb as she sounds. Annabella Rasciglione at the Daily Beast. This one was freaking hilarious. Again, the president's daily brief. Kash comes on yesterday and he says, listen, The president's daily brief is called as much because it's tailored towards the president's priorities, which is exactly why it's the president's daily brief. Have you ever been in one? Here's Anna Rasciglione. She's like, Kash made an unbelievable claim that the president, intelligence is tailored towards the president. One, Annabella Rasciglione has never been in a PDB at all, never even sniffed one. She writes, she covers Kash saying the president picks and chooses which intel he wants to follow as it suits him. In Wednesday, an appearance on his former sidekick's podcast, Patel gave an odd explanation for why the president's daily briefing is referred to as such. Annabella, I've sat in these for a year, you dipshit. If the president shows a particular interest in an area, and there's only so much I could say here because you've never been in one, you're too stupid. These professionals who put this together will develop more information in that area. The brief doesn't go on for 7 hours, you dipshit. The brief can range from a half an hour to sometimes an hour to 15 minutes, depending on his schedule. They've got to tighten it up based on what he cares about. Do you not know? Here she is. Annabella Rasciglione, alleged reporter. She looks like she's about 11 years old. I know you're watching, Annabella. How many PDBs have you? I'm just checking. Oh, none. So you've never seen RFIs in there? What are those? Requests for information? It's called the president's daily brief because the priorities he has, he can put out, and they do all the time. RFIs, you freaking moron. This is what happens. This is what's considered like truth and justice, the media, the fourth estate. All right, we need a timeline cleanse because the idiocy is displayed by left-wing Ted Lieu lunatics and the media consiglieres, the Annabella Rascigliones and the Charlie Mashes or Nash, whatever the hell his name is. It can pollute your brain like Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease and prions and stuff. There's a little timeline cleanse. You see this yesterday, a celebration of Black History Month at the White House? If you missed this, I'm sorry you missed, because seeing this live was epic. My wife was like, yeah. My wife doesn't get into like politics too much. She's like, she'll sit there and watch. She pulled away from what she was doing. There's this lady, and I think her grandson, it's a tragic story, was a victim of a crime in Washington, D.C. So Trump brings this woman, a black female, she's a grandmother, to the White House, and just impromptu turns over the microphone to her. And man, you want to talk about stealing the show. Timeline cleanse after watching the Annabella Rasciglione. This is necessary to clean the prions out of the brain. Check this out.
And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off of him. And Grandma said it.
Listen, cat turd, you got to get a hashtag going for this. I don't know. You're better at this than I am. Remember we did the tampon Tim thing? You got this, like, man, I don't know, go grandma or so. That's probably one of the best, best sounders I've seen in a long time. I was watching that live. You missed it. Like, did you see it in the chat? Hell yeah. Who said that? Hell yeah, grandma. Hold on, chat. Hell yeah. Kristen, 21. Amen, grandma. Sometimes you need just normal people outside of this DC swamp to get up there, take the mic, and just let you know how they really feel. God bless you, Grandma. That was awesome. Fantastic. One of the best things I've seen for a long time. Timeline cleanse. Everybody back. Get the media, Ted Lieu prions out of the brain. Clean it out. Clean all the plaques out. You will. You'll get Democrat-induced dementia watching their stupidity all the time. We need these once in a while. Jasmine likes them too, right? She likes the timeline cleanse. The guy fishing last week was priceless with this young boy. Nothing like being a dad. I don't have any boys. I got to tell you, I wish I had. I've got an older daughter and a younger daughter, and they're pretty far apart. I probably should have had one in between and taken a shot. I'm one of 3 boys. I have a stepsister, but I never had a boy. So that video was really heartwarming to me to watch. I love my girls too. I mean, obviously, but it's like being a dad to daughters. But having a son when you're a guy, kind of wish we would have had one in between. Plus, we would have given a brother. You know, the brother's the protector, you know, although the PC crowd doesn't want to hear that. Folks, government scares me and should scare you too. I think that's been the theme of the show so far. And government wouldn't scare me as much, tying it all together, if we actually had an honest fourth estate media that would call the government out on a bipartisan basis when the government did things that encroached on your freedom and liberty. Men are not angels. The media and the freedom of the press was literally written into our Bill of Rights in order to provide an obstacle against government intrusion into your freedom in violation of the Constitution so they could report on it, expose it, and action could be taken via elections. Government scares me. Should scare the hell out of you too. This is why this argument right now about the SAVE Act and the filibuster, because they're technically separate arguments, but they're not. The SAVE Act is a national piece of legislation which would institute basically voter ID and voter integrity, would save us from a lot, not all, but a lot of the cheating that happens in elections. Why is that integrated fully with the filibuster now? Because the only way to get this passed is to scrap the filibuster. For those tuning in the first time, you're not too familiar with politics. We have the House of Representatives and the Senate in the legislative branch. The House of Representatives, the Republicans have the majority. You pass a bill by majority, it goes over to the Senate. You say, well, they just pass a bill by majority over there. No, it has to overcome a 60-vote hurdle in a 100-member Senate because of this thing called the filibuster. Folks, the Senate was always meant to be kind of a cooling chamber. The problem, do you have the supercut of them saying they're going to bust up the filibuster, Guy? All right, let's go a little bit out of order. Here's the problem. We need to pass this SAVE Act now. We're not going to do it without making changes to the filibuster. Whether you make them actually talk through the filibuster or you bust it all together, we have got to do it. Now, I get it. A lot of people have made the argument that, Dan, you're actually making a case against that because you're saying the Democrats are such tyrants. If you give them a majority and not the kind of supermajority filibuster, the Democrats are going to pass all kinds of stuff. Correct. The problem is they're going to bust the filibuster anyway and pass all kinds of stuff. So at least we can get our stuff passed too. Folks, we're not dealing with the perfect answer. We're dealing with imperfect. Remember level 10 problems? I discussed it yesterday. Level 10 problems. There's a shit answer and a shittier answer. Here's the shit answer. The shit answer is busting the filibuster. The shittier answer is not busting the filibuster and let the Democrats do it first. They've already said they're going to do it. I don't need to speculate. This is something you're not going to hear in a lot of mainstream media outlets now. Check this out.
It's time we get rid of the filibuster.
I favor getting rid of the filibuster.
I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster.
Abolish the filibuster. We must abolish the filibuster.
They're going to do it. Listen to me in the chat. Listen. Please. Antenna up. Pay attention. They are going to annihilate the filibuster the second they take power in the Senate, which could happen in the midterms. They are going to do it. How do I know that? They've said it. The media is not going to tell anybody this right now. You've got to weigh into your decision the cost of inaction right now on the SAVE Act and not busting the filibuster. You can't just give the shitty answer. Hey, man, the Senate's been a cooling chamber to stop a lot of Democrat nonsense over the years. We should keep the filibuster. Correct. But what's the cost of inaction? You're leaving out the other side of the coin. Oh, the Democrats are going to bust it anyway and do it in the next term? If they win? Here's Mike Lee. Here's a tweet. Senator Mike Lee's been great on this. I think he's the only one who sees through all this crap right now. He's been on the show many times. Jim, try to get him. I know he wants to come on. I want to have him on as well. Here he is in his tweet talking about the cost of inaction. He says, to the extent invoking the talking filibuster is even a risk, and I'm not at all sure it is, it must be weighed against the risk of not doing it to pass the Save America Act. On that front, this is a no-brainer. It's not even a close call. At Based Mike Lee, a great follow, by the way. Yes. You can't just say, oh, the Democrats, if we bust the filibuster, will do crazy stuff. Of course they're going to do crazy stuff, but they're going to do the crazy stuff anyway. If we don't act now, in other words, inaction now and do nothing and don't pass not crazy stuff, sane stuff like the SAVE Act, then we get our balls kicked in for nothing. You may never get this opportunity again. On the other side of the coin is Hugh Hewitt, who wrote this piece at Fox. And listen, I respect all these viewpoints. Again, I had a bunch of folks on last week, Tommy Tuberville, Brandon Gill talking about this. There's a number of different perspectives. I think we should bust the filibuster altogether. Mike Lee thinks a talking filibuster. Brandon Gill, Tommy Tuberville's with me on it, dump the filibuster. But this Fox piece, Hugh Hewitt disagrees on the changes. Fair enough. I'm not attacking at all. He wrote this piece, and I encourage you to read it. And you can take all the inputs, take Hugh's input, Mike Lee's input, Tommy Tuberville's input, Brandon Gill, my input if you'd like, and produce an informed output. Your output may be different than mine. Hugh Hewitt wrote this piece. I encourage you to read. Just say no to the talking filibuster. It's a waste of time. And he notes what I said before, that the Senate is there to stop the majoritarian impulse. You know, the two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. I agree with what Hugh Hewitt is saying. I just disagree with the outcome on that. Because they're going to do it anyway. You have to weigh in the cost of inaction. You have to address that at some point. And that's where I disagree, with respect. Here's another problem. Relying on the Democrats, which is what a lot of these people are who don't, on the Republican side, let me be clear, who don't want to bust the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act, they're relying on the Democrats. They're like, no, the Democrats, they'll do the right thing. They didn't bust it last time. They didn't bust it because Sinema and Manchin stopped them, 2 Democrat senators, and then left. They're gone. There is nobody who's going to stop them this time. Maybe, and I doubt it, Fetterman. But you can't trust these people. They have no integrity or principles at all. You're going to trust people like Ted Lieu's on the House side, but you get the point. A lot of his ilk are in the Senate too. You're going to trust people like him and Hillary Clinton Eastas. All they talk about is stolen elections, everything else. They'll dump this thing in a second. If they win the midterms, right, and the Senate side coming up this year, and then hold the Senate and say Vance or Rubio, whoever's elected president in 2028, it'll only be seconds before they dump the filibuster and accuse them of stealing the election. And they say, we got to dump the filibuster and we got to take over national elections and do it their way, which will be the wrong way. Here's Hillary Clinton still obsessed with the stolen elections idea, although blaming you for saying elections get stolen. Check this out.
I think it's also critical to understand that, as I've been telling candidates who have come to see me, you can run the best campaign, you can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
They will never stop talking about these stolen elections, despite accusing you of hypocrisy for talking about stolen elections. The difference is we have actual evidence of irregularities that just passed the judge's probable cause muster in Fulton County, Georgia, with the FBI case. We had John Solomon on talking about it the other day, and you haven't produced shit. You produced a bunch of Facebook ads, $100,000 in Facebook ads the Russians bought or something like that, claiming that, this definitely stole it. You guys are totally full of shit. The difference is we have actual evidence. You have none of it. They are going to bust the filibuster anyway and jam this shit down your throat. I promise you. Listen to me. Bookmark this episode and pray I'm wrong. Pray I'm wrong. Pray I'm wrong. They will jam this thing down your throat if they take back the Senate. And what are you going to see? You are going to see a litany of crazy, of insanity like you've never seen before. I'm talking Mamdaniism at the national level. Here's Pramila Jayapal, another lunatic on the left of the Ted Lieu kind of ilk, talking about a trans Bill of Rights. Again, this is just one of a litany of things you are going to see that is going to New York the entire country if they get in charge. They are going to nuke this thing. The only thing we can do is put in some guardrails now by nuking it ourselves. That's the only option. There's a shitty answer and a shittier one. All the good solutions are already gone. Here's Jayapal on the trans Bill of Rights. Check this out.
Trans people everywhere. I also want you to know this. Those people are threatened by your strength, by your joy in being fully who you are. Those who fight against trans people are just jealous of the freedom that they have taken to be fully who they are. And so those people just want to destroy that rather than imagine what it would be like to be fully who they are. Wise words from our young people. So today, the Trans Bill of Rights makes those freedoms we all deserve as clear as the paper they are written on. And we intend to continue this fight until we win this fight.
Was 2023 Nat, is that in the chat? My eyeballs are terrible. Says nuke it now. Nuke it now. They are going to nuke it, and you are going to. This is just one small sliver of what you're going to see. A trans Bill of Rights. Because did you hear it, guys? Ladies in the chat, you're all jealous. You're all jealous of the trans community. They're not free to be fully who they are. What freedoms don't they have? Freedom to assemble? Got it. Petition? Got it. But you're doing it right now. Vote, practice their religion, speak, carry a firearm. What freedoms don't they have? This is the kind of shit you are going to see. They're going to do it. If we get rid of nuke the filibuster now, we've also not only got the opportunity to pass the SAVE Act. Keep in mind, too, if we hold the Senate and the House in the midterms, which is possible, we have a really good Senate map. The House, I mean, it's not great given all the redistricting, Virginia's efforts and everything going on, and Indiana's failure to do anything on the Republican side. On the redistricting, gerrymandering front, it's gerrymandered. That's it. Both parties do it. Just the Democrats seem to have an advantage because they're more aggressive. We have another 2 years, if we keep the House and the Senate, to really fix the country, fix elections, fix our budget problem. Folks, we are in a really catastrophic budget problem. We are in an actual crisis. It is only a matter of time. You know what they say about these, debt crises and these national bankruptcy? It happens gradually and then all of a sudden. We are looking at a maybe not de jure, but de facto national bankruptcy if we keep spending money the way we're spending. You may say, well, President Trump can fix it. He can't. He's got the congressional Democrats and the Senate Democrats with the filibuster obstacle stopping him from cutting a single dime. He put Elon in there. They found all of this stuff. Russ Vought's doing what he can, but the Democrats do not care about bankruptcy. They actually want it. They love the idea of a bankruptcy. We have the opportunity, if we nuke the filibuster, to clean out this budget, finally, and get ourselves on a trajectory to fiscal sanity. You want to see how bad it is? How bad it is if these Democrats don't get their shit in order? And by the way, some weak-kneed Republicans, too, on this. Here's Peter St. Onge, a program I really like. I watch a lot of his clips on X and elsewhere, talking about how bad the debt crisis is. Listen to every word of this. Check this out.
National debt will hit $63 trillion in just 9 years, including $16 trillion of debt interest. For perspective, 9 years ago is when Donald Trump first eased into the Oval Office. Will we be selling the pets or the kids to keep Somali leering centers in Bugattis? The report comes from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, which is their in-house accountants, who projects $23 trillion of deficits, a cool $2.5 trillion per year, which will take the debt to $63 trillion, which is 120% of GDP, surpassing World War II. Note, that's assuming no recession between now and 2035, which is a bold assumption, considering the Federal Reserve has delivered a recession every 6 years for going on 113 years now. Indeed, prediction market Kalshi currently projects 1 in 5 odds of a recession this year, which is about half what it was under Biden, but still, 9 years is one heck of a stretch.
Penelope Pep Pit Stop put in the chat. Penelope, if you're a woman, I guess, I don't know. Penelope says the country can't go bankrupt, but we can devalue the country. You're correct. That's why I said it would be a de facto, not a de jure bankruptcy, because we can just keep printing money. Be like, well, what's the problem? We can just keep printing money. The problem is if you print more money, you create a greater supply of money, which creates what? Massive inflation, which means prices go up, which means you can buy less shit. There is no way out of this at $60+ trillion of projected debt other than to stop spending money, and we can't do it because of the filibuster. If the Democrats get in office and they want to blow up the budget again, they're going to do it anyway with 51 votes or 60 votes because there's no appetite. Now that we've got the appetite, if we had just a majority on both sides, we could put the real squeeze. and start cutting a lot of this shit and get on a fiscal track that's not freaking insane. Folks, there is no way out of this. We will be in Argentinian inflation, Venezuelan, look up the Argentina crisis from years ago. The economy collapses when your dollar doesn't buy anything anymore. You got to bring wheelbarrows of Weimar Republic style of money to buy a freaking loaf of bread. The government creates an inflation crisis. The government only. You can't print your way out of this. We've got to get control of this. You nuke the filibuster, you got a shot. Here's the great Milton Friedman in a quick clip here, just explaining how inflation is solely a product of the government printing money. They have a monopoly on it. That's it. Check this out.
Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. Trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else.
You cannot tax your way out of this problem. It is impossible. Pulling money out of the private economy, the free market economy that generates taxpayer dollars, is going to stop that dollar from multiplying in the free market economy. The government doesn't multiply anything. It just consumes and eats all day. It eats up wealth and destroys it. The government produces very little of value for you outside of law enforcement, the military, and basic infrastructure needs. The government quite literally pays people not to work in many cases and produce stuff. Man, this stuff frustrates the shit out of me. We are going to go bankrupt. Thankfully, you've got a president in office focused on pro-growth policies, a reinvigoration of critical industry in the United States. I don't agree with him on everything, folks. This is not that type of show, and he's never, not that it would matter, I was in there in the law enforcement capacity, but even when I had him on the show before, President Trump, before I went into the FBI, we don't agree on everything. We don't. It's okay. I love all this bullshit about he's such a fascist, agree, or he's going to throw. He's not like that at all. I've never been a huge tariff guy, but I get what he's doing in terms of using it as a negotiation tool. I mean, I agree with it. It means, listen, a lot of the predictions about what was going to happen with tariffs were just wrong. The economy's going to collapse. The stock market's going to collapse. None of that happened. None of that actually happened. That's just a fact, man. You can disagree with it all you want. The reasons, we'll see. Produce inputs, you get a better output. However, there's no question this president is obsessed with growing this economy, and the only way out of this debt crisis is going to be to drastically cut the government stealing your money. Taxes have nothing to do with increasing taxes even more. Hauser's Law, man. You're not going to get shit. People are just going to start hiding their money. End of story. We already pay enough taxes. Or you're going to have to produce more, grow the economy, and make the percentage taken, if it's a bigger pie, more money that'll help pay off this debt crisis. Even USA Today, I don't know how they let this slip through the cracks. USA Today opinion. I mean, USA Today, come on. Like, you think they're going to give you like the straight skinny? No, it's an opinion piece, but typically everything's anti-Trump all the time. Quote, real incomes are growing. Americans are adding wealth. Inflation continues to moderate. Unemployment remains relatively low. Where's Trump's credit? When I said that to you yesterday, you guys probably did a double take. Like, wait, that's USA Today? Yeah, it's not Bongino report. That's USA Today. How that slipped through, I don't know. Folks, all of it is true. And getting back to the point, I didn't plan on doing a full economic segment. I'm actually going to tie this back to the filibuster and the SAVE Act. If we blow through and nuke the filibuster now, which the Democrats are going to do anyway for the 15th time, maybe more in this show, we have an opportunity for massive pro-growth tax sanity, pro-investment strategies, massive cuts to government spending from stealing your money, and we have the opportunity finally to maybe grow our way out of this. Now, I do want to give both sides of this. I showed you Hugh Hewitt's piece. I encourage you to look it up. You are responsible consumers of media, unlike liberal lunatics who say stupid shit because they get dumb inputs from their moron class on the left-wing media. I'm going to give you both sides, and you can form your own opinion on the filibuster. There is an argument to be had, and I saw John Thune brought it up yesterday. You can go to yesterday's show. It was a clip on Fox. John Thune, majority leader of the Republican side, said, hey, if we allow this talking filibuster, meaning if you want to stop a majority piece of legislation in the Senate from passing with 51 Senate votes, you have to go on the floor and talk and talk and talk to basically clog up the pipe. The longest one ever, I think, was 60 days. You want to talk for 60 days, that's fine, but you're going to have to go to the floor. You can't just, right now, you just threaten a filibuster and everything stops. Well, you may say to yourself, well, if we institute a talking filibuster, they could potentially speak for 100 days. Yeah. And then all that floor time is not dedicated to other things. That's a real threat with the talking filibuster. I only bring that up because Mike Davis, the great Mike Davis, lawyer, he's just been amazing. I suggest you follow him on X. Mike Davis was on with, I think it was James Rosen, and he was talking about how, listen, we got to get judges confirmed. We got to get United States attorneys confirmed. They're just not, even in red states, this process is not moving fast enough. Folks, I said, not an excuse. Listen to me. Not an excuse, an explanation. No excuses. Do the job. Don't do the job. The Department of Justice and the bench, there are a lot of open judicial spots that should be going to Trump-appointed judges. They're not, a lot of them aren't getting through right now. The process is super slow. United States attorneys who prosecute cases based on the Constitution, a lot of these spots are open. This was a huge problem. The FBI, you can investigate all the cases you want. If there's no U.S. attorney or assistant U.S. attorney to get it in the pipeline and start the process, there's nowhere to go. You're running into a wall. Not an excuse, an explanation that's important so you have accurate inputs. Here's Davis talking with James Rosen about it's a serious problem, exactly this problem. Check this out.
According to data from the Article 3 Project, the conservative legal advocacy group, there are 15 vacancies for federal district court judgeships in states where each party has one senator representing the state. More surprising, there are nearly 24 vacancies for district court judgeships in 8 states where both senators are Republican. These include Alabama, Alaska, Florida, Kansas, Louisiana, Ohio, Oklahoma, and Texas. Article 3 founder and President Mike Davis formerly served as Chairman Grassley's chief counsel for nominations and has played a central role in the confirmation of some 300 federal judges and 3 Supreme Court justices. In an interview with Newsmax, Davis took issue with the famous statement by Chief Justice John Roberts, rebutting a comment made by President Trump during his first term that we have no Obama judges or Trump judges, Bush judges, or Clinton judges.
Despite what the Chief Justice has said, there is definitely a difference between a Republican judge who follows the law and a Democrat judge who sabotages the will of the American people and disregards the law. I have been turning up the heat, and it's working, because I've heard from my friends inside the Trump administration that we've gotten these senators' attention, and they're finally coming to the table.
Davis notes that 62 of 93 U.S. attorney positions across the country also remain vacant.
Folks, it is a real threat. I'm only here to give you proper input so you, as responsible thinking, logical, reasonable, mature adults, can figure it out on your own. You don't need me to tell you how to think. That's not my role here. It's not. It's never going to be. I am not here to tell you, how to think. I'm here to give you inputs and information. Some with some color commentary, some speculation when I say so, some opinion, but a whole lot of facts. That is a fact. Those are open judge spots and open United States attorney spots. They're not moving fast enough in the legislative branch to get them through. You cannot prosecute a case in the DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshal Service, anywhere else without getting a United States attorney, a government lawyer, to write subpoenas, draw up search warrants, draw up informations, present to a grand jury for indictment, get a true bill. None of that happened. The FBI does not do that. The DEA doesn't do that. They are the Federal Bureau of Investigations, not prosecutions. And if the legislative branch does not help the executive and the DOJ with getting people in place, there is nothing that's going to happen, because it can't. because there's nobody to do it. I'm going to give you both sides. You can figure it out. But one thing I'm not going to allow is, again, left-wing media bullshit. That's why the constant clawing and rage outs every day. They're obsessed with this show. We own these people's attention. They just can't look away. They just can't. Reminds me of that scene in Bridesmaids. Remember Bridesmaids after the what is it, the Brazilian steakhouse scene when they're in the bridal dress shop? And is that Melissa McCarthy? She's sitting on the sink. It's coming out like a volcano. Look away! Look away! My daughter saw that scene for the first time. We were down in Miami. It was on TV, and she couldn't stop laughing. She's like, isn't that the lady from, what's that show? Gilmore Girls? They can't look away. They're so embarrassed by what we expose on this show every day that they have to like faux counterattack with bullshit, but they're afraid because our microphone is bigger than theirs, then they can't argue it. It's almost 70,000 people still here. We've been on the air an hour and 15 minutes. That drives them freaking bananas. They do a live stream, 10 people show up. But there is a balancing act here. I get this a lot from people. It's a fair question. Why didn't you respond to this and why didn't you respond to that? Because one, I don't want to waste an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour show and we have a guest. I don't want to waste 2 hours, on Annabella Raschiglione every single. No one really gives a shit. I think it's important sometimes to hit some things back, especially given the total rage out about my interview with Kash yesterday. Dude, is she even legally eligible to work? I mean, the woman looks like she's seriously like 13 years old. But I know where you're going with that. I know, I got to get to it. But one of the things you always have to be concerned about in this business is the Streisand effect. And I'm going to show you what I mean because it's very real. And it just happened with the Senate race in Texas. Senate race in Texas, the Streisand effect. No, it happened and it may wind up burning us a little bit. I'm sorry, but I got to tell you the truth. It involves Stephen Colbert, a U.S. Senate candidate in Texas running against Jasmine Crockett, the Streisand effect, and why sometimes responding to everything may not be the best idea. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just giving you inputs. You form your own outputs. Quick break, and we'll get back to that. Folks, I covered in the beginning of the show the massive buildup around Iran of military forces. We don't know what's going to happen, but clearly they're not there for tea and crumpets. They're there because something's likely going to happen in gunboat diplomacy. You saw me cover in the beginning of the show. There is absolutely no reason for you not to be prepared. I get a kick out of it when people poke fun at people who prep and, the prepper. How is that an insult? Folks, one of these days you are going to see another emergency. It may not be a world war. It could be a flood. It could be a hurricane. I live in Florida. A natural disaster. Power grid could get attacked. Do you really want to be sitting there with no food, no medicine, no preparedness tools, no water filtration? Why would you want that? I'm telling you, man, unless you're a friend or family, don't come knocking at my door. I'm sorry, I warned you. I got to take care of my own friends and family. You got to take care of yours too. Listen, I'm not saying we're definitely going to war with Iran, but what I am saying is while we're distracted with this, serious stuff's happening around the world that could directly affect you and your family. Emergencies happen. You got to be prepared for real threats. That's why I'd like you to head over to preparewithdan.com right now. Patriot Supply has been with us for a long time. They're the best preparedness company on the market. Our friends at My Patriot Supply, they set up a complete preparedness package just for you. It has everything you need: backup power, survival food, water filtration, and more, all in one bundle with over $800 in free gear. Do it today. Don't wait. Better to have this stuff and never need it than need it one day and then you don't have it. Then you're in a world of hurt. They're calling it the Mount Rushmore of preparedness, and it won't be around for long. So go to preparewithdan.com today. Pick up your preparedness bundle today. They've done all the homework for you. That's preparewithdan.com. Go today. Thank you, My Patriot Supply. Folks, friends don't let friends fall for, media bullshit scams. So I think the media pulled a fast one on us here. I do. You have to worry always about the Streisand effect. Now, for those who are new to the show, what's the Streisand effect? The Barbara Streisand once asked a bunch of photographers not to take pictures of her house. Of course, what did they do? They showed up in droves, started taking pictures of her house. So if we were to answer every single bullshit media narrative, there are thousands of them about the show that come out every single day, one, it would take up the whole show. But second, a lot of these people, folks, I'm just being candid, haven't earned your attention. I earn my audience. My audience is one of the biggest live streams in the world. The media hates it, but they haven't earned your attention. I'm going to put them on the show, even if it is to crush their bullshit. Because you wind up bringing attention to them. So there's a balancing act. How does that relate to this Tallarico case? Jim Garrity at National Review kind of summed it up. So what happened was this Senate candidate, Tallarico, in the state of Texas, is running against Jasmine Crockett. He goes on Colbert, and Colbert says that CBS and the liberals implied that the Trump administration pressured them to pull the interview down for equal time, which has been around forever. Garrity says, again, the Trump administration didn't do anything. CBS's lawyers didn't tell Colbert he couldn't air anything. They just reminded him of the equal time rule. Colbert and Tallarico were acting like they're in Orwell's 1984. So what happened? So Colbert pulls the interview down with Tallarico. This bullshit story that the Trump administration did it floats around. Folks, the equal time rule has been around forever. Producer Jim, you've been in the radio business a lot longer than me. How long has this been around? For eons. This actually happened to me. I used to host a show, true story, WMAL, great radio station in Washington, D.C. I was hosting a show on the weekend. I came in for the weekend one time and guest hosted, and I was a candidate, I think for Congress at the time. I forget, there was a couple of races there, right? I hosted a show. My opponent at the time complained under the same rule, equal time. So WMAL had him come in, and he hosted a show. This is not new. It's been a government rule, whether you like it or not, forever. The Trump administration didn't order Colbert to do anything. So it's a bullshit story. But what happened? The Democrats want this guy, Tallarico. Listen to me. This is where if I lose you, tell me in the chat, but this is where it gets a little like four-dimensional. I think they got us on this one. I'm just going to admit it. The Democrats in the state of Texas do not want Jasmine Crockett. I don't care what they do. The establishment Democrats, the lunatics do. They don't. She's ignorant, stupid. She says crazy things. She's an awful candidate. They don't want her. The Republicans want her because she's so bad that they think it'll be not a gimme, but an easier race. Not a gimme. Nothing's a gimme. We shouldn't take anything for granted. She could win like anyone else. We should always treat it that way. The establishment Democrats definitely want Tallarico. They put him on Colbert. Colbert pulls the interview, puts it on YouTube. The Streisand effect happens because we started talking about it. A YouTube interview gets like 5 million views, and this cat winds up raising Tallarico something like $2.5 million off of it. Hey, this unquestionably worked for the Dems. I'm only bringing it up because we got to learn from this stuff. The Streisand effect is real. It's why I don't respond to every single thing. Here, you doubt me? Here's a Fox News report yesterday about Tallarico, this whole incident, and how he raised a shit ton of money after this interview got pulled down by the Trump administration. Total fairy tale. Check this out.
This TV drama is boosting Tallarico's campaign. It reports raising more than $2 million over the last 24 hours. Timing matters as early voting is underway in Texas.
Folks in the chat, let me know if you think I'm wrong, but I think they got us on this one. I had avoided talking about it, and then, now I've got, because it's a warning sign. Here's the lesson from this, because if there's not a takeaway, I'm just blowing carbon dioxide into this RE20 microphone. When you have a microphone, an audience, a big audience, if you have no audience, it doesn't matter. If you have a microphone and an audience, you're a top streamer, you're a top podcaster, you have a top radio show, a cable news channel, be really cautious with it. I can't tell you enough, the greatest superpower in the world, more powerful than being at the FBI or anywhere else, is the ability to command attention in a microphone. Don't ever forget that. Be really cautious with how you use it, and don't let anyone who hasn't earned it hijack your time. Be really careful. To tie it back to the beginning of the show, the media eye coverage and the Daily East, Annabella Risciglione. Why focus so much attention on little old Dan all the time? Why the BDS, the Bongino derangement syndrome? I just explained it. Because despite all the claims, no one's watching, no one's going to show up, they have never defeated the show. The show has been on the air for 10 years. It's been a top show. Those are just the facts for about a decade now. It drives them freaking bananas because they know that we, thanks to you, this is, yeah, we produce the content, but you listen. This is thanks to you. You guys have created a powerful vehicle I'm grateful for. And they know I don't let them hijack every moment. And it drives them freaking crazy. Our social media pages get an incredible amount of views. I want to show you how bad it is for the left-wing media and how they're just green with envy because they don't have an audience themselves. They just don't. Here's a great account on X to follow, @RoadMN. If you ever want to see TV ratings, who's talking shit and who isn't, you hear a lot of people, oh, I got great ratings, millions of people. Well, you're full of shit. Well, if you're not on Fox, chances are that's all bullshit. Here's what I'm talking about. This is the cable news ratings, hat tip @RoadMN, road like street road, MN. I want you to look at this. What's interesting about this? The 31st ranked program is Hannity and has an R next to it. In other words, a rerun. Look at the time, 2 a.m. This is Hannity's rerun at 2 a.m. Has close to 1 million viewers. Put up the tweet now by RoadMN. Look at that. Oh, Greg Price, I'm sorry. But that's a RoadMN chart. @Greg Price. Absolutely hysterical that reruns of Hannity at 2 a.m. are getting more viewers than every single show on CNN. If you have a microphone, be careful with it. Be careful with it. That, by the way, segueing intentionally, is what worries me about AOC and Mamdani. Folks, we got taken on the Tallarico thing. It's the fact. Don't get taken by AOC and Mamdani and this narrative. It's a small circle of people, but it's very dangerous. That, oh, this woman's an idiot. She showed it. She is an idiot. So's Crockett and everywhere else. The problem is, as I told you in the beginning of the show, the Democrats love idiots. Look at Ed O'Keefe. Has anyone ever called the president racist? Yeah, you. The Democrats love stupidity. You saying like, oh, we don't got to worry about these people, and it's not you in the chat, but there is a small group of people you've seen it. This is great. I'm telling you, it's not great. These people have a microphone. AOC has a massive social media presence. I think it's a lot bigger than ours. This is the fact. I'm not going to bullshit you. I mean, can you guys, Josh, look that up. How many followers does she have on TikTok? She's got a ton. We have like 670,000 or something. We got kicked off TikTok like 10 times. So we had to constantly rebuild the account. I'm actually impressed we're even there. She's got millions of these people. Millions. She owns a huge microphone, and so does Mamdani. How many does she have? 4.1 million? It's a lot. That's a lot. Do not ignore these people. Do not discount. Look at that. At AOC, Congressman New York 14, 4.1 million followers. Do not ignore these. This is how you get kicked in the balls like this Tallarico thing. Here's J.D. Vance yesterday in AOC. Yeah, he's correct. She is an idiot. She showed that in Munich. She just doesn't know anything, folks. She was asked basic questions on Taiwan, geopolitics, international affairs, and completely shit the bed in an embarrassing, humiliating manner. Folks, listen to me. People get caught all the time, okay? Remember when George W. Bush was asked who the head of state was and he flubbed it? This happens all the time. This happens all the time. There are forgivable mistakes in this space. You know, you ask someone a question about a conflict in Northeast Rwanda and they don't have a perfect answer. Okay, fine, whatever. It's like not everybody knows everything all the time. She was asked a basic question about a top 2 or 3 geopolitical problem the Strait, Taiwan, and China. And she didn't have an answer. It is inexcusable to not have an answer. She is not smart, but the Democrats like stupid as long as you have a microphone. Here's Vice President Vance correcting the record on AOC, and he's right. Check this out.
I think it's a person who doesn't know what she actually thinks. And I've seen this way too much in Washington with politicians where they are given lines, and when you ask them to go outside the lines they were given, they completely fall apart because, look, does anybody really believe that AOC has very thoughtful ideas about the global world order or about what the United States should do with our policy in Asia or our policy in Europe? No, this is a person who is mouthing the slogans that somebody else gave her. And it shows
no one gave her one for that one.
I guess not. And it shows how thin the Democrats' policy actually is on all these very, very important questions. Look, that was embarrassing. If I had given that answer, I would say, you know what? Maybe I ought to go read a book about China and Taiwan before I go out on the world stage again. I hope that Congresswoman Cortez has the same humility. I'm skeptical.
Have you ever seen Vice President Vance or Secretary of State Rubio or Scott Bessent not have an answer to a basic question like that? Throw anything at Vice President Vance, anything. Ask him a question about, like, the Houston Astros. I promise you, like, he's thought of something about it. They asked her a basic question on Taiwan, and the Democrats still love her because she's stupid. She has the feels or whatever. You know this, Josh, the feels? You know what I'm talking about? The Democrats love the feels. Oh, she gives me good vibes. So does Mamdani. She's an idiot. So is Crockett, Mamdani, Bernie Sanders. They're all frauds. Listen to me, though. It doesn't matter. They have microphones. That is all that matters to them. The Democrats. All right. I have to throw this segment in there because this thing went nuclear. We're closing in on the end of the show. But I don't know what to call this video segment. But when I see this stuff, you guys ever see that movie Weapons? Paula, I know you're watching right now. I saw this with my wife in D.C. It was the only time I was ever in, by the way. Political Playbook has a spotted section, like we spotted someone around town. My wife and I went to the movies at Georgetown, the AMC. It was the only close movie theater to where I lived over in City Center in D.C. when I was serving up at the Bureau. So Paul and I, once in a while, go out to the movies, and she'd come up and visit. And long and short of it is, we come out of the movies, and the next day I pop Political Playbook. Spotted there, Bongino coming out of the movie theater with his wife, and I was kind of like, "Well, that's weird." Like, you don't realize all these people are looking at you. But I saw. You ever see this movie Weapons? It's like a freaky deaky do movie. I walked out of that movie. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. I'm not going to blow it up with spoilers or anything like that. But you walked out of that movie if you've seen it, and pardon the language, folks. You're like, what the? I had my security detail guys with me. Paul and I both looked at the detail leader. I'm going to say his name, big guy. And we were like, dude. And he looked at me. He was like, dude. And I was like, dude. And he was like, dude, what the just happened? If you haven't seen this movie, it's insane. It's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen. Where am I going with this? I see this video yesterday. And if you go to see Weapons, there's a scene very similar to this. Doesn't give away any spoilers or anything. But this is real. This is not a movie. Turns out the police get a call to this sorority house, Alpha Delta Phi. I guess it's body cam footage, some kind of fire alarm. They go downstairs to the basement. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we love having you on audio. But our video is pretty exclusive here to Rumble. You got to just fast forward to the end of the show. You got to watch this video. This is so crazy. This is real. This is not Weapons, the movie. Check this out.
Does anyone want to be forthcoming on what's going on?
Hey, this stops here, guys. This is a police department. This stops here. Who's in charge?
They're upstairs.
How about we start cleaning this up? Everyone take their blindfolds off. Shit. I've already given multiple commands to clear the room and get out of here, but no one's moving. Apparently they're taking this pretty serious. Yes. You in charge?
You said.
Still haven't found out who's in charge?
Might want to ask our house dad.
Where's he at?
Summit. Working at Summit.
Summit. That's cool.
I don't know. I don't know. Rarely do I put a clip in the show. I just don't know. I was not in a fraternity. Maybe I should have been. I don't know what's going on. If you were in a fraternity, maybe you have some color in the chat. You can provide some commentary. All I can tell you is, if you've seen the movie Weapons, that'll make sense. And you too will walk out of your whatever living room watching it, or if you had seen a movie, and you will say the same thing I did. What the just happened? Man, that was a packed show. Folks, I've got a pretty good feeling this is going to be a busy couple of news weeks coming up. There is a lot happening. Just go back to the beginning of the show, rewind the tape, air quotes, and you'll see what I mean. I really appreciate you've chosen this show. I never take my audience for granted. I'm super grateful you're here. I don't like to ask for a lot, but please, if you wouldn't mind, go to rumble.com/Bongino. Please click that subscribe button. Follow the show. It is absolutely free. Also, I don't say this enough. Download the Rumble app. You can watch on the Rumble app. It is free. It gets an insane amount of downloads. I watch on the app every day. If you don't want to go web-based, download the Rumble app. Just look up my show. Give us a follow there. It is absolutely free. We are live every day. If you want to interact in the chat at 10 a.m. Eastern time, the show is available for you to watch anytime during the day. After that, rumble.com/Bongino, Dan Bongino Show on the Rumble app. You can check out Haley after my show at rumble.com/Haley, 2 Y's. And at 8 a.m. every day is Vince Colonase, another great talent, rumble.com/Vince, all part of the Silverlock family of productions. We really appreciate it. It's really an honor to have you. On a very serious note, listen, there's a lot happened over the last couple of years. A lot's going to happen in the coming year. I will never take you guys for granted. I am so grateful that you choose every day to let me in your home. One of the top live streams in the world. It means the world to me. I will see you back here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Carania.
Host of Vince.
Host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here.
Right here on the Bongino Report channel.
Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Noon weekdays. And if you miss it, no worries. The show will always be right here and anywhere you find a podcast. Thanks for watching.